all right. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Lamuna, and I pray that you are doing well. Welcome to the conversation. I just want to have a quick mic check, make sure that I can be heard loud and clear, and we can go ahead and get into this story. So for those who have just joined us, welcome. If you're new here, welcome to the conversation. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, and share. And if you're back, because you don't know it already, we already here, the family, Solonomics, welcome back. So go ahead and let me know that mic check is clear. And as I said, I'm on my way to 7,000. You know what I mean? You got to set goals and crush those goals. So I've been hovering around 5 for a minute, and I'm being intentional. So go ahead and let us get to a broader audience so we could continue to have these type of conversations. So go ahead and I lost a few subscribers off the last video, and that's been my experience here at YouTube, that YouTube try to kind of it's a funny place. It's an interesting place. Let's just say that. And to stay as authentic as I can, I'm going to have to say what needs to be said, right? So it is what it is. But, more to come, more to come. Anywho, today I said, what am I going to talk about? And I wanted to talk about love. I wanted to talk about love. But let me double check to make sure that I'm heard before we talk about love. So let me play a commercial real quick, and then we will be right back. Yummy Cottage, of course. All right. There's a lot of conversation, and it almost makes me feel like there's no other conversation happening in some spaces about love and relationships and what they used to do and how they used to be. And I'm like, bruh, there's a lot of stuff we can be talking about, some of which I'm going to be making some videos. But since this is where the people's attention is, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that everything is on the up and up before I go all the way in. So I have to check it on my side. And play another commercial while I'm checking this here. Let's introduce ourselves. We're the Yummy Cottage. Okay, this video is brought to you by the Yummy Cottage. You open your search browser. You put in the Yummy Cottage.com. Oops. Cottage.com. And then you go on over to the Yummy Cottage. And here we are, and we have seasonings. This is what our special is right now, the international pack of seasoning curry special blend with organic turmeric, Tex-Mex, Jamaican jerk. We have chicken. Listen, you put it on anything. You put it on your Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts are my thing right now, by the way. You put it on your tofu, if that's what you eat, your chicken alternative. You put it in your rice. You make, broth, all that good stuff. So go on over to the Yummy Cottage. Check us out. That's who's sponsoring the video. If you enjoyed it, press like and share and all that good stuff. And we will make another one. All right? All right. Everything's good. Everything's on the up and up. So I already know how it is. People going to come in late, be like, I missed it. It's all good. We're starting right now, 9 minutes and 45 seconds in. Okay, so here it is. I often talk about the Writers Project that was initiated in the mid-30s during the Great Depression to capture a lot of the stories that enslaved people's experience so that they wouldn't be lost in the annals of time, right? And so I said, you know what, let me just read one of those. It's been a while. I've been doing some research on my own family history, and I just find I don't know what it is about me and these stories, but hey, it is what it is. So I'm just going to do my portion. So I'm going to share the screen because we're going to read that. And then I have a treat at the end. So definitely stay till the end because I have a treat. A treat. Okay. Let me take my screen off here. All right. There we go. Okay. Here it is. All right. make the screen big here. All right. So this is Aunt Lucy's love story. Aunt Lucy's love story, right? Um, let's just go. It's an interview with a woman named Lucy Ann Dunn. She was 90 years old at at the time of the interview, and the address was 220 Cannon Street, Raleigh, North Carolina. So if it fits your fancy, look it up. If you peoples are from Raleigh, and you're like, I wonder if that's my Aunt Lucy. Stay to the end. I have some treats for you. So, and even for those who are interested in doing this work, I pay attention to everything, right? I pay attention to all the little details because they help along the way. So, anywho, and it's written in her vernacular, so please excuse as I read it in that way. My pappy, Dempsey, my mammy, Rachel, and my brothers and sisters and me all belong to Mars Peterson Dunn of Neuse here in Wake County. So we see where they got their last name from, and we see that she was one of many who had brothers and sisters. Mother's name Dempsey, father's name Rachel. There was 5 of us children: Alan, Charles, Karina, Medora, and me, all born before the war. And we know, if we don't know, that this war is this Civil War, 1861, 1865. So all of them would have been born during antebellum slavery. My mammy was the cook, and far back as our members, almost I was a house girl. So they made her a do girl in the house, and mother was not outside, she was inside. Okay? She was inside. I fanned flies off the table because, there wasn't no air conditioner, there wasn't no central air back then. And our members, wait. And by the way, I never read this before, so this is my live reaction. I flying flies off the table and done a heap of little things for Miss Betsy, Mars Peterson's wife. So she's giving a host of information, a lot of information that I think for those who are interested in genealogy, this is a perfect example of, wow, that they captured this story. You knew the name of the master, his wife's name, how much of them, the occupation, all that. My pappy worked on the farm, which was about to have been a big plantation with 200 and more yo, son, Lucy Ann, niggas to work hit. Okay, so it was they worked for a big company, quote, company, aka plantation, right? It wasn't one of these small ones. I remember when word come that war was declared, how Miss Bessie cried and prayed, and how Mass Peter quarreled and walked the floor cussing the Yankees. Again, by this time, the South is doing what the South does. A lot of work is coming in. It's an explosion, a second one, and they are real. There's a real division in the country. Okay, that's the climate. So a lot of the people in the South were not pleased in the least with the conversation that was going on at the time. The war come on just the same, and some of the men slaves was sent to Roanoke, Virginia, to help build the fort. So now they have to reappropriate the resources, the physical resources, the human resources from industry to war type industry. Yes, ma'am, the war comes to the great house and to the slave cabins just alike. And if you study that time period, when the soldiers were coming down, they were taking over people's houses, they was ransacking people's farms, they was taking people's animals, their horses, they were doing the most. Like, it was crazy. The great house was large and whitewashed with green blinds, and the slave cabins was made of slabs with plank floors. We had plenty to eat and enough to wear, and we was happy. Interesting. That's an interesting line right there. But I'll continue because this is supposed to be a love story, so let's continue. We had our fun and we had our troubles, like little whoopings when we weren't good, but that weren't often. And again, there's a lot of position where the enslaved individual was made to be this perpetual child, and as long as you had something to eat and something to wear and you weren't being, quote, mistreated, always getting beaten, then you were happy. So that's kind of the position that she's taken, and she's remembering it from the mind of the child. But let's continue. After so long a time, the rich folks tried to hire or make the poor white trash go in their places, but some of them won't go. That's interesting, because there's the society is stratified, right? Now we say, well, all white people this, and you have some of the Europeans who are from a poorer system who often say they don't know what you're talking about because that wasn't their experience. So even in this narrative here, you have melanated slaves looking at what would be considered what she called poor white trash, thinking that their experience was better than them because the indentured type of group of Europeans, they didn't have access to the resources that the richer ones did, right? They treated so bad that some of them decides to be Ku Klux, and they goes to the woods to live. So she, in her opinion, in her thought process, how a lot of people ended up in this Ku Klux Klan feeling empowered, or seeking to gain power, was by coming together and going against who they thought was the problem, which is the so-called black people of the time. When we start to take up the eggs, or starts from the spring house, the butter and milk, they grabs us and takes the food for desire. I don't know what that is. So basically they were stealing. Basically they were stealing their eggs, stealing their butter, stealing their food. This goes on for a long time, and finally one day in the spring I sets up on the porch and I hear a roar. I was responsible for the Guzlins them days, so I sees to the mistress, I reckon that I better get in the Guzlins because I hear hit a thundering. That ain't no thunder, nigga. That the cannon, she says. And listen just to how the missus, I can't, I'm not going to go off. I'm going to try to focus here. Some will say, why didn't you just get to the love part? The backstory is interesting. Anywho, what cannon, I ask, why the cannon, what they is fighting with, she says. Well, that something. I is out getting up the Guzlins. I hear music. I looks up the road and I see flags. And about that time, the Yankees are killing as they go. They kills the geese, the ducks, the chicken, the pigs, and everything. They goes to the house and they takes all of the meat. May not just say that's what they was doing. The meal and everything they get their paws on. Oh yeah, they was ransacking. You seen that part in the Roots movie. But anyway, I'm not gonna digress. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. When they goes to the kitchen where mommy am cooking, she cussed them out and run them out of the kitchen. They sure am a rough lot. I ain't never forget how Miss Betsy cried when the news of the surrender came. She ain't said nothing about Mars Peter. Oops. He makes a speech saying that he ain't had to sell none of us, that he ain't whooped none of us bad, that nobody has ever run away from him yet. Then he tells us that all who wants to can stay right on for wages. So now the conversation changed. Remember, this is employment. This is live-in work employment that you did not negotiate your contract, right? So all of a sudden the employer has to change his speech. But if you don't stay on, then he goes under. So it may be like he's trying to appeal to emotion, but really this is about his viability in the world post-war. Right. So a lot of them will give this speech about how I was so good to you. Keep in mind, you was enslaved and you stole me. But OK, how are you so good to the person and you ain't never hit them and you ain't never beat them because you want to appeal to emotion. This is the emotion. This is the abusive part of the institution, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, the mental abuse, so that now I need to compel to your emotions so that you can save me. So this is what that part is. right? We stayed 2 years, even though my pappy died the year after the surrender. Then we moved to Mars Peters, other place at Wake Forest. After that, we moved back to News. I mean, it's very difficult at this time to really move around. You see this conversation in the root story, because now, whereas somebody was paying for your upkeep, food, clothes, and shelter, whatever resources that you're going to gain in this new hostile, environment, you are now going to be responsible for that. And for this reason, many people just stayed on. Hit was in the little Baptist church at News War. I first see big. Okay, here goes the love story part. So all of that was the backstory, and I really appreciate her for that. Okay. Now we're up to the love story part. So the war passed. They stayed on for 2 years. It was in the little Baptist church at News, if I'm saying that right, where I first see big black Jim Dunn. Why she had to call him? And I fell in love with him then. So it was love at first sight. I reckon. She thinks. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. He said that he loved me then too. So it was like, hey girl, what's up? And she's like, hey, right? That's why I'm imagining it, but it's okay. He said that he loved me then too, but it was 3 Sundays before he asked to see me home. So I've been watching you, watching me. It was kind of that way. He didn't like run up on her and be like, hey girl, what you doing? He, at first he was just like, hey, I'm checking for you. And she counted. She remembers. It was 3 Sundays. Okay. We walked that mile home in front of my mammy. So they had a chaperone. And I was so happy that I ain't thought hit a half a mile home. So she couldn't, it would have been too soon if she walked any faster. We ate cornbread and turnips for dinner, and Hit was night before he went home. So he walks home with them. He's munching. I suppose it's after church, because it's a Sunday. Mom Dukes is there. It says, Mammy wouldn't let me walk with him to the gate. I knowed, so I just sat there on the porch and she's good night. So Mom Deuce is like, nah, none of that. You know what I mean? None of that bye-bye on the porch vibration. You wave from right where you are. Y'all want love stories, how it's supposed to be. That's what y'all saying, right? So let's keep going. He come every Sunday for a year. My boy got patience. And the father was dead. So technically her mother is a widow, because somehow some people think that the only way you could come be a single mother is if you out here playing the field. Her mother is a widow, aka a single mother, right? And her mother is still making sure that things are in decency and order. Okay. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. And so he comes every Sunday. My boy, Big Jim, got patience for a year. And finally, he proposed. I had told Mammy that I thought that I ought to be allowed to walk to the gate with Jim. And she said, all right, if and she was sitting there on the porch looking. Because she don't want no cheap feels, right? Jim is not copping no cheap feels off of Lucy Ann. Mom Deuce is like, fine, I'm going to be right here looking, fam. Right? This is funny. That Sunday night, I did walk Jim to the gate and stood under the honeysuckles. That was a smelling so sweet. She remembered everything. Lucy Ann, thank you for vividly recalling your experience, okay? I heard the big old bullfrogs croaking by the river and the whippoorwills and a hollering in the woods. There was a big yellow moon, and I reckon Jim did love me. Lucy Ann, help me, please. Anyhow, he said so and asked me to marry him and squeeze my hand. I told him I think he over, and I did. And the next Sunday, I told him that I'd have him. So, she thought it over. Snell, she was playing hard to get. After 1 year of Big Jim, today you hear said you must give the man the front. According to KS, you must give the man the front after the first date, because don't nobody have no time to wait. This is what we hearing. right? That no, hey, welcome to those who just joined us. Don't nobody have no time to wait. I know it's weird. I'm going live on a Sunday at 11, but hey, we're gonna do what we do. So I know a lot of people gonna catch this on the replay. Shout out to you. We're hearing that you pump and dump. You ain't got no time to wait. So it's not only that the men have changed, the women have changed. Because Jim was willing to watch and wait and show his interest for 1 year. This is the first time that she's saying that he squeezed her hand. After a year, Mom Deuce is giving the evil eye on the porch, okay? And she, even after all of that, she was like, yeah, let me think about it, right? And the next Sunday, I told him I'd think about it, think over, and I did. And the next Sunday, I told him that I'd have him. He ain't kissed me yet, but the next Sunday, he asked my mammy for me. She says that she'll have to have a talk with me and let him know. So people are having a conversation. Before, I remember years ago, we talked about family being involved, and people thought I was like crazy. Like, what are you talking about? He comes to the mother. The mother is aware of his interest. The father has passed. She says, let me talk to my daughter. This is happening in the mid 1800s because this is 2 years after in the Civil War. This is according to the way she tells the story. So this is about 1887. Her father has passed. He passed 1 year afterwards. And it's her mother, and her siblings. Okay, big old Jim. She's seen him. He was watching her. She was watching him, right? And they allowed things in the process of time to unfold. She had time to observe, and he had time to observe. Anywho, let me go back. Well, that week she talks to me, telling me how serious getting married is and that it lasts a powerful long time. So the mother is putting her up on game that it's not, it's not something to just jump into. And she would have been watching the whole time, but she doesn't give this conversation, it appears, till later when things look serious. I should have brought me something to drink in here. Anywho, I tells her that I knows hit, but that I am ready to try hit and that I intends to make a goal of hit. Anyhow, I don't know also how old she is. She's not saying how old she is, but I think I have a clue based on what I found, a little treat that I'm going to give you, the little morsel that I'm going to give at the end of this. But curiosity has me wanting to go find out how old she was. Hold up. Let me just keep. Wait. Do. Yeah. All right, let me continue. Well, okay. On Sunday night, Mammy tells Jim that he can have me. And you ought to see that black boy grin. Oh, chill. Why should I keep calling him that black boy? Like, he's geeked. He's like, yeah. So his efforts played off, right? He comes to me without a word and he picks me up out of that chair, and there in the moonlight he kisses me right for my mammy, who am a crying. The next Sunday, dang, that was quick. They didn't even plan the destination wedding. They didn't, take 6 months to prepare. It was the next Sunday. Like, can I have it? She was like, yeah. He was like, bet. See you next Sunday. The next Sunday, we was married in the Baptist church at News. I had a new white dress, so though times was hard. Okay, ain't that a love story? Now, everybody's story didn't go like Lucienne's story, but I decided to sprinkle a little joy today on this beautiful Sunday morning. We lived together 55 years, and we always loved each other. We ain't never whooped nor cussed. He ain't never whooped nor cussed me. So this is a decent man. Jim, him. Oh, where am I name again? I think Jim. He was a decent man. She said he didn't whoop, meaning that there may have been a precedent for men to take out their anger on their wives or cuss them. Why did she say that? I think it's important to note that she said that because she said we loved each other, and then she went on to describe what was not present and why she was able to be together 55 years. He ain't never whooped nor cussed me, And though we had our fusses that and our troubles, we trusted in the Lord and we got through. So it's not like they didn't have disagreements, but they had a line of respect within their marriage that allowed them to endure for 55 years. Are y'all listening? He didn't curse her, you ain't da 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 da, and all this other stuff that people be thinking that you're going to browbeat other people into subjection. It don't work like that. It doesn't. Where am I? I loved him during life and I love him now, though he's been dead for 12 years. So by the time they're doing this interview in the 1930s, Jim had passed away. The old lady with her long white hair bowed her head and sobbed for a moment when she began again unsteadily. So she really loved him and he really loved her. And that is beautiful. Again, is this everybody's situation? No, but this was hers. We had 8 children, but only 4 of them are living now. The living are James, Sydney, Helen, and Florence, who was named for Florence Nightingale. I can't be here so much longer now because I's getting too old and feeble and I wants to go to Jim anyhow. Oh, wow. The old lady wiped her eyes. I thinks of him all the time, but seems like we're young again when I smell honeysuckles or see a yellow moon. And sometimes it's interesting that she says that as we look at love and the way emotions and smells and sights are imprinted on our mind, right? And all of them work together in tandem. So when she says she smells honeysuckle, she already noted earlier what was present when they were courting, right? And so especially smells are heavily tied to memories, be it good or bad. So she's only just proving more of what studies have shown, how our memories work, how emotions work, that anytime she sees these things, then she remembers him, right? And it evokes an emotion and she starts crying. And that was the end of that. Tell me if you didn't enjoy that, because I did. I enjoyed reading that and just giving light to someone's experience, even though other things were going on during that time. Uh, you know, just understanding and knowing that people had love and people lost, and people, she had 8 children and lost 4, right? It was, like I said, was this everybody's case? No, this wasn't everybody's case, but this was her case in particular. And just to add a little more, I see John over here writing a lot, John, but I'm not going to go off course right now. So just to show that there's a little more that was going on, my curiosity got the better of me before I came on live, right? So hold on 1 second. I said, let me look it up because I've been in research mode, just combing back over my own family history, as I do from time to time, learning a little more here and there. Where did my thing go? Hold on. I said, let me look up Lucy Ann, right? Because she gave a lot of information. So I said, let me look up Lucy Ann. And lo and behold, what did I find? What did I find, people? I'm glad you asked. What did Lucy Ann tell us? Wait, let me go back. She gave us her father's name. What was her father's name? Her father's name was Dempsey. I found Lucy Ann's. There he goes. She go, Miss Lucy Ann Dunn. I found her death certificate for where? Raleigh, North Carolina, which is where it took place. Remember, at the end, she says she wants to go home to Jim. She wants to. The name, we know that James is also a shortened name for James. So there goes her husband. Here she goes, Miss Lucy Ann Dunn. She lived in the community for 25 years. She was at 220 Cannon, but when she passes, she's at 312 Cannon, right? So whoever's relative this is, here's her information right here. Whoever's relative this is, say you're trying to piece together your family history. This is invaluable. I don't know who this is. Whoever it is, I hope you find this video. This information is invaluable. Why? I'm over here doing my family history, and even though I know that something happened. I don't have like this rich history, like this love letter, like this recounting, because the project was done here. A lot of people don't know how many answers are right at your fingertips. Anyway, a quick search, and I do mean quick, I guess because I'm accustomed to doing this. A quick search popped up. Here's Miss Lucy Ann. She was a female. She was colorless. She was widowed, like she said. Her husband passed away. How do we know it's her? You have to look for clues, context clues. Here's Dempsey. That's her father. Her mother was named Rachel. What did she say? Her mother was named Rachel, okay? But they don't know because she was on the plantation, they would have had the same name. If her father and mother were from the same plantation, they would have had the same name. So you see that there. And then you see the cemetery that your grandmother or great-grandmother or great-great-grandmother is buried in. You see here the cemetery. What does this say? A lot of this stuff you have to be able to read script. This is Forest. This looks like it says Forestville Church, Wakes County, Raleigh, North Carolina. And you see when it was filed, she passed in 41. They were doing this. Let me go back and see when they were doing this. And this has so much information on it. It tells you how she passed. If we go here, major findings of salinity, I think, old age, due to old age, acute, that may be, this says acute something. Sometimes whoever was writing this, they need to get it together. They needed to get it together. Sometimes I have to sit with it till it comes together. But essentially, I thought this was a cool piece of history right here. So not only do you have the story of your great-grandmother, whoever relative this is, not only do you have the story, but you also have the information of her passing. So why is this important? Amuna, you just digging up old stuff and this don't make no sense and blah, 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 blah. I also have one more thing here is where they might possibly say that she was born. This is having her born. Sometimes when you go back far enough, let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me share my screen with you one more time. And I'm going to tell you why this is important, because, you know, it's not just about reading old information. I'm going to tell you why this is important in 2.5 seconds. Hold on, let me move my screen. All right, boom. I'm going to tell you why this is important. Now, according to the narrative, what I've found in doing this research is that sometimes they estimate or guesstimate the time of birth, right? We have Lucy Ann Dunstan Dunn right here, but on the death certificate is estimated at 1865. But based on what she told us in her retelling, this is the same person, Wake Forest, Wake, North Carolina, right? This is Lucy. Dempsey is her father, as you see right here. But based on what she told us, she had memories before the war, though. So she had to be, she said she was a girl in waiting or a house girl. So this would have had to been, and this person right here is died in 1941. So her being born in March of 1852 is plausible because she would have been about 10 or 11 years old by the time the war starts, which is enough for her to remember all of the things that she remembered. So if I click on this, right, you see here her information, March of 1852. And this is find a grave. So it doesn't look like it's going to have her birth certificate, which I have found a lot of birth certificate, but it does give a better understanding of when she was born. And definitely there she goes. And this is her. And if your grandmother, great-grandmother, great-aunt, whomever is Lucy Ann Dunstan Dunn, you have some information to go by. So how's this important? When you're putting together your family history, yeah, and you want to know what your ancestors did, or why you or your siblings or somebody is having an experience or a certain experience, based on what she's saying, her immediate ancestors may have a good experience, especially in relationships to Like there was good in the pot, there was a good investment based on what she said. So they may be the people who you see, meet as children and find their soulmate, and you're like, wow, that's such a beautiful relationship, because her ancestors or their ancestors planted this type of seed in the garden, if you can understand. So they're eating the fruit thereof. If her story was totally different, you can use it to understand why the parents, or why you may be having a certain experience that you're having. Right. Uzziah, what's up? This is definitely a love story. You're gonna have to definitely go back to the top and check it out. I think it's dope. It's interesting. It shines light on one person's experience. Like I said, I didn't want to, this is one person's experience, but it's something for people to have a reference to, that there were all of these other different elements present that bared out in this way, right? And a lot of people today are talking about dating and relationships and how it was, and I can definitely pull up some other things that I may do at another time, but let's see what John is saying. John, I'll pray for you today. Okay, woman was married, her husband passed away. It's not the same as choosing to get pregnant out of wedlock. No, it's not the same. But again, like I said, there's a lot of people who seem to think that the only way that you can become a single mother is by hickling up with a pookie or quote unquote ray. Let me continue. We're not in the 1800s. These women will have a guy who she knows wants to date her in her back pocket for years, but wants him to. I don't know, John. That's off topic. But again, 1800. I can also pull up single mothers in 1800s, right? I'm of the persuasion that people don't change to this degree where we think they do. What was happening then is happening now. It's just happening in a different way. What was happening in the quiet now is happening in the public. There's nothing new under the sun. That's what the preacher said, right? There's nothing new under the sun. So I don't think we have people who love and honor their marriage today, and you had people who love and honor their marriage then. You have people who were creating single mothers then, and you have people who are creating single mothers now. It's just about how they're going about it and how society looks at it. But overall, the same things are happening that has been happening. Here we go. The family was intact. Bro, this is one family. This is one family. There are many families that were not intact. Today, I choose to focus on something positive. But if you want to, we can definitely look at the stories of many families that were not intact. But we could continue. No, she didn't beat me. No, because okay, here goes John. She said he didn't beat me because black men are portrayed as abusive savages who would delete you first chance to get. No, there were a lot of abusive relationships as it is today. So to me, I hear what you're saying. To me, she's illustrating that the way that their marriage, the balance that their marriage had, the respect that was present in their marriage is what contributed to the longevity of their marriage. Again, I already disproved that, John. So I'm gonna just let you rock out. I'm gonna let you rock out because we already know how you get how you get. It's there when Nasha comes back. I don't agree. I already told her I don't agree with that on record. So it is what it is. And what's going on, India? Yeah, it's a beautiful story. So for those who just joined us, we just went over Lucy's love story. It was part of the, and I put the link in the box if you want to read it for yourself. It was part of the what do you call it? The Writers Project back in the 1930s that captured the stories of enslaved peoples during that space and time. It's a very good cultural context piece. And I also was able to find, for those who just joined us, so I'll just release my screen so you can see one more time, and then I'm going to wrap it up. We'll probably do a little Marvin Gaye later on, but this is she's from Raleigh, North Carolina. She might be somebody's, like I said, I pray that, I'm going to put her whole name in the title because she may be somebody's great somebody. You know what I mean? This is this is what we read from, and we have other people's stories as well. I'm not going to go into their stories today. Maybe I'll read one here and there. Let me go back. Here her story is right here. This was captured in 1937, and she ends up dying 4 years later in 41, right? She says she wanted to go back to Jim, well, which was her love of her life, and she dies in 1941. So this is her story. This is what we read. And then just a little tippy tappy and doing what I do. I love researching. I was able to find Miss Lucy, and I'm going to show you right now. I was able to find Miss Lucy here, and here is her, here is her death certificate. So she gave us all the clues in her story about who her father was, where she was from. And so we see Mrs. Lucy Ann Dunn. This is her death certificate, how long she lived in the community, where the county she was from, which matches the storyline. She was a housewife, right? So it stands to reason that James is the one who took care of her, and until he died. And you see the street that she was from, all of this. And she died in 41. So 4 years later, after she did that interview. So I'm glad they captured it. And that was the purpose of the project, is to capture the voices of the elders before they passed on. And they did capture it. And 4 years later, we would have never known her story had they not done this. So shout out to them for that. Okay. And so with that said, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know what you learned. John don't ever be coming with no facts, John. Again, I'm coming with facts, bruh. Like, I'm not going to jump into the sweeping generalization boat, because that's not the reality. What we do is when we read things with a bias already in mind, and we confirm that bias, so that when we find anything that goes contrary to that, then we minimalize it and say, oh, that was just one situation. That's not the case. I assert and continue to assert, and unless you bring information the way I'm bringing information, you can assert all day long that all of the same things that plague the people today plagued the people then. You had good people, you had bad people, you had good husbands, you had good wives, you had bad husbands, you had bad wives, you had pookies, you had ray-rays, you had all of the same you had people who drunk, people who were violent. You have all of the same characteristics of those who were and those who still are, right? So that's what I maintain. And I do that because I've gone through a lot of this information on my own, and I realized that to think that, to romanticize the past in the way in which we do, it doesn't really serve us, because it's not giving us an accurate picture or accurate retelling of how things were. And what that does, how does that, it makes it an issue for today, because we keep talking about, oh, it wasn't like this, it wasn't like that. And so we put the bar so high for people today that they think that they're failing. Now, some people really are failing, but it's not realistic. It's like no, why I said, oh, she's just one person, because I know that people will say this is one story. Now, this project has over 200 stories. When I searched love stories, Lucy's was the most detailed love story. I did the research before I came here. There's 2 love stories that are out of 2,000 things that they captured, storylines that they captured. Lucy's was the most detailed. That's why I chose to speak about Lucy. That means out of those 2,000 stories, 2,000, I'm sounding real, out of those 2,000 stories, if they could only find 2 detailed stories, this is why I say what I say. I'm not trying to downplay anything. I'm the one who did the research before I came and presented it to you. I didn't just pick this out of thin air. Like, oh yeah, how did I come to this point? So respect the process is all I'm saying. Respect the process. I don't come before the people with just any and anything. Respect the process. How did I get to Lucy's story? You should ask that question. Amuna, do you have more stories like Lucy? Are you able to share so that I can prove my theory? You're trying to use me to prove your theory, and it ain't even my theory. You're using my research to prove your theory. What you would be responsible for doing is finding more stories like Lucy's that substantiate your point that the majority of marriages in FBA society lasted more than 70 years. You would have to prove that, not me. I maintain that there were all of the same characters then that is now. You have relationships that were lasting and people were in love, and you have relationships that disintegrated. That's my position. So you would have to prove your position. I'm not Googling nothing today, John. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. Hey, look, well, let me play a little something break, and then I'm gonna wind up in a minute. I always thank you for the conversation. Always thank you for being willing to talk and be engaged, and it's all good. It's all good. I've been watching you, watching me, and I know you want to like, subscribe, and comment. Now I'm playing, but for real, like, subscribe, and comment. Join the conversation. You don't know. All right, all right, all right. So with that said, I'm gonna play a little commercial. If anybody has anything else to say, let me know. Drop the comment in the box below. And if Lucy's your relative, hey, this is a great find right here. You're welcome. All right, all right, all right. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wind this video down. Like, subscribe, and comment in the box below, and I will be back for another one. All right, have a blessed day.